Whenever I beat up on liberals, whether they're corporate Democrats or even some of the real legitimate good actors who are trying to fight for critical reforms, but take a turn or an occasional turn in directions and vote in certain ways or make statements on positions that I find kind of cringe. Some people would think, yeah, you need to not be so harsh and be understanding. Some people are, that's when they're being charitable, and in some cases, they're like, well, what are you soft on Trump or something? And no, I'm not being soft on Trump, and I refuse to be charitable when I see bullshit happening because I've seen too much of the bullshit in American politics, and it's ridiculous. This phenomena of Donald Trump. I've said this before, and I will say it again. And through the very bottom of my heart, sincerely, I believe around the year 2014, 2015, I believe that Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, because the Clintons used to be friends with Donald Trump, I believe Bill Clinton and Donald Trump were golfing one day. And I really believe I think that Donald Trump was starting to talk about running for the presidency. And when doing so, while golfing, I believe the conversation it wasn't exactly that Bill Clinton said, Donald, I think you need to run for president. In fact, me and Hillary, we want you to run for president, and we want you to disrupt the Republican primaries and destroy the Republicans from within to ensure a guarantee Hillary victory. And we're going to go and make sure that you'll have some specialized real estate deals, and you're going to probably end up being 3 times wealthier than you are. I do not believe Bill Clinton said that. But what I do believe happened was that Bill Clinton and Donald Trump were golfing, and it wasn't direct, but I think that he was hinting at it. He'd be like, Donald, I think my wife is going to run, and and I think it'd be healthy for democracy if you were to run. And I'm hearing that you're Republican these days. You know, um, and you used that birther thing on Barack Obama back in 2011, 2012. Well, I mean, Hillary, she was the one that started it all, and all those crazy people from the Tea Party took a Hillary conspiracy theory that he knew was full of shit, and the gullible people from the Tea Party, they, being the hicks and rubes that they are, they ran with it. It shows you they can fall for anything. And I bet if you run as a Republican, that they will fall for you. They will fall for your song and dance, being the media person you are. And it will make Hillary's win easier. So, I'm just saying, maybe you run for president, it'll be profitable for you down the road. And I think that it was sort of like that. And then eventually, Donald Trump was thinking to himself, I'm not as good with the Donald Trump impression, but I'm gonna try. Yeah, I guess I can run for president and do this for Hillary. And then while he was running, he probably thought, was the primaries was going on, he just got uh, in love with the idea that maybe he could do that. And he was like, "Oh fuck, fuck the Clintons. I think I can do this. I can win. I can win bigly, bigly win. And Americans, they would love me. But I got to go and do this in the Republican primaries." I know I got to sound like the biggest idiot around, Let me give it a try. And he failed his way up into the presidency, as Donald Trump has done all his life, failing his way up in life. But the thing about it is that Donald Trump got elected in 2016, and he had resistance from some Republicans, and they were called Never Trumpers. Some of them hated Trump because he was too right wing in their eyes, and some of the rhetoric he was using to formulate a populist right wing politics, they would be correct. But then there were some that hated Trump not because he was too far right; they didn't trust him. They thought he was too much of a liberal. And a lot of Americans forget that. A lot of people today from across the political spectrum forget that there were people in 2016 that did not trust Donald Trump running as a Republican because they felt like Donald Trump was not a true conservative. He was from New York, and New York is tied in with liberalism. He's made comments in the past favoring assault weapons ban. He even stated that he was in favor of Medicare for all. And he's voted for Democrats numbers of times over the years. He's shifted back between Democrat and Republican and was even in the Ross Perot Reform Party for a while. And so there were Republicans such as people from the Bush family, Glenn Beck, Ben Shapiro, people like that, John McCain, and all these folks. They were very distrusting of Bush. I mean, excuse me, distrusting of Trump and voted for him anyway. I mean, voted against him. I mean, they actually voted against him. What am I saying? They voted against him. But you had people like Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, and you had people like Mark Levin, who were never Trumpers in their own right, but they went and held their nose and voted Republican, voted for Donald Trump because they're Republican first, and any pretense of principle second, meaning no principle at all. So, uh, and Bill Kristol was also one of those that voted against Donald Trump. He voted against him in both election cycles. In 2016 and 2020, he voted for he endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2016 and endorsed Joe Biden in 2020. Now, George W. Bush got rehabilitated, during the Trump years, and it was really just the oddest thing just to see George W. Bush being buddy buddy with people who were their opposition, and now George W. Bush is tight with Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and George Bush Sr. too when he was alive, and it all comes with the territory. But getting back to Bill Kristol, I was very disappointed uh, recently to find out about Ro Khanna's, shall we say, choice of words toward Bill Kristol. Now, if you don't know who Ro Khanna is, and I trust that maybe most of you in my audience would know who Ro Khanna is, but for those who are not familiar, Ro Khanna is a Democratic congressman from California in the 17th U.S. Congressional District. He is, in my view, one of the better Democrats in Congress. Um, he's great on foreign policy. He was one of the sponsors, along with former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, of the Stop Funding Terrorism Act. He is a full official. Um, he is a very dedicated um, supporter of Medicare for all. He he was a supporter of Bernie Sanders in 2016. He was a supporter of Bernie Sanders in 2020. My opinion of Ro Khanna is that Ro Khanna is as decent as they come as far as Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives. If we had more people like Ro Khanna, it would be in spite of what I'm going to say about him in just a moment. I have some harsh words toward him, but in spite of my harsh words are coming up, if we had more people like Ro Khanna in the U.S. House of Representatives, it would be a better institution. Sadly, we don't have enough people like Ro Khanna. But it doesn't mean that I have absolute praise for the man. I have a legitimate criticism of Ro Khanna. Now, recently, Ro Khanna has said this about about uh, Bill Kristol. Kristol is one of the most thoughtful voices in defending liberalism and democratic institutions in our country. He tweeted that on Monday, and which is really, really sad because if you know anything about Bill Kristol was the architect of the Iraq War in many ways. The man is a war criminal, and because he's a war criminal, he was a large part of the reason why we're in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he was basically all about the Bush Cheney doctrine in its ugliest form, the going and preemptive military invasions, the disinformation campaign about Saddam Hussein being linked with Al Qaeda, being linked with Osama bin Laden, the lies about weapons of mass destruction, the fact that we had um, civil liberties compromised now, to this day, because of the Patriot Act, we're being spied on and everything, and the fact that we have torture down in Guantanamo Bay, it's just all the awful things that came with the Bush Cheney doctrine. Um, it, you know, um, Bill Kristol is really just as much a public face of that as people like George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, the late Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, Condoleezza Rice, John Bolton, all these horrible ghouls that were responsible for this carnage that we're living with. It's had mental, and this is part of the reason why we're $25 trillion in debt today, is because of assholes like Bill Kristol, who, as I said, all that money could have been put to use in a national healthcare system, and I have often said that you don't want to fight them in the streets here. We're talking about people from the Middle East. Don't be over there droning them and preemptive military striking these folks. It's as simple as that. But and we're still living with the negative effects of Bush Cheney. Look at Julian Assange. Julian Assange is in prison being tortured by our government because of people like Bill Kristol and the liberal elites in this country. They want to be friends with this asshole. Bill Kristol should be behind bars. He's a war criminal. I mean, just because he has a pleasant demeanor, it doesn't mean that we have to sit there and like him. I mean, George W. Bush was like, hey, shucks, ha, ha, ha. I mean, the little country boy, pretend country boy he was, guy who was born in Connecticut and was, basically Republican on the Northeast country club type. He ended up being trying to act like he's just one of the boys down in Texas. Please, really, really. Just because, I mean, I remember years ago I saw a meme that said if you could shut Sarah Palin, Rush Limbaugh, and Dick Cheney up, will you do it? And there were people like, yeah, we'd love to shut them up. We're talking about a bunch of liberals who was, this is when they started getting very pro censorship. They want to go and shut up Rush Limbaugh, shut up Sarah Palin, shut up Dick Cheney. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I hate Dick Cheney, I hate Sarah Palin, and I hated the late Rush Limbaugh. You know what? The late Rush Limbaugh and Sarah Palin never killed anybody. So they can go, it was okay for them to be dumbasses saying all the stupid shit that they've been saying all these years. As for Dick Cheney, I'm all for him saying stupid shit if he wants to say stupid shit, but he needs to be saying that stupid shit from behind bars and rotting away in prison because Dick Cheney's a war criminal. So is Bill Kristol. So, I'm very disappointed with Ro Khanna. And I say this with the utmost respect for Ro Khanna. I like Ro Khanna. I wish there were more Democrats in Congress like Ro Khanna. But just because I like Ro Khanna doesn't mean that I'm not going to ever criticize him. I mean, I mean, Even Bernie Sanders will get criticized by me on this channel occasionally. I know it sounds hard to believe that I would criticize Bernie Sanders, but it's true. I would criticize Bernie Sanders as well when he does things that are wrong. And I can name you a couple of things that Bernie Sanders has done wrong. And I say this even more than Ro Khanna himself. I say this, and I have said this about Bernie Sanders, and I still say it to this day. I consider Bernie Sanders my only, really only official voice in Washington, D.C., more than anybody else, even more than the squad, even more than Ro Khanna, even more than the most progressives of progressives, because Bernie Sanders is the OG of them all. Okay, he got the ball rolling, and we have a socialist or a social democratic movement or a rejuvenation of New Deal liberalism because of Bernie Sanders, and that's a good thing that we got a national conversation going. But Ro Khanna, as much as I like him, he's wrong on this. Just saying, wrong. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. Comment if you dislike what I have to say. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, create your own platform and utilize it because we're the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to share the content on this channel, as I said, and of course, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And until next time, on American Social Democracy, peace and class struggle absolutely now.